Welcome, brother. If you've ever followed her words and still watched her walk away, this video is your awakening, because what she says isn't always what she desires. And if you don't understand this primal contradiction, you'll lose yourself trying to please a fantasy. Today I'll reveal the truth no one dares to say, why her words are shaped by culture, but her desire is shaped by instinct. This is not about manipulation. This is about masculine clarity. Let's begin. The moment that changes everything. She said she wanted someone kind, someone emotionally open, someone who listens and respects her feelings. And you believed her. You gave her everything she asked for: your time, your energy, your heart. But in the end, she walked away. Not because you weren't enough, but because you misunderstood the language she was truly speaking. This isn't about blame, it's about truth. Because if you keep believing that being the nice guy is what keeps a woman by your side, you will slowly erase yourself. You'll become invisible, disposable. The truth is this: women live with two selves. One is the social self, the one shaped by culture, media, advice from friends. It says she wants a gentle, emotionally available man, but deep beneath that is the primal self, the one shaped by 3 million years of evolution. And that self doesn't respond to words. It responds to energy, to presence, strength, mystery, and leadership. When she tells you she wants a man who shares everything, but then finds herself losing respect for you, the more vulnerable you become, it's not because she's lying. It's because her two selves speak different languages. You listened to her mouth. You should have listened to her behavior, to her silence, to her eyes when she no longer looked at you the same. You cannot keep living like her words are legal contracts. You must learn to read energy, to sense the polarity, to feel when you're no longer leading. Because when you let go of your core to chase her approval, you become emotionally dependent, and emotional dependency is repulsive to her primal self. You have two choices. You either continue to be the man who tries to please, explain, and negotiate his worth, or you become the man who leads, calm, grounded, sovereign. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: see things as they are, not as you wish them to be, not as she describes them, but as they are at their root. Because when you stop playing the game of affirmation, when you return to your own center, she feels it. Not through your compliments, but through your presence, through the energy that says, I am whole, with or without you. Now comment below. I lead from within, not from her words. Her instincts speak louder than her words. She told you she wanted someone who communicates, someone open, someone who's always there. And so, you opened up. You shared every emotion, every fear, every thought, thinking it would bring you closer. But something changed. The more you gave, the more distant she became. The more transparent you were, the more cold she turned. Why? Because women speak in two languages, one with their mouth and one with their body. One from the social self, shaped by culture, stories, and what's appropriate. The other from the primal self, coded deep into her biology. Her mouth said she wanted softness, but her instincts crave strength, not domination, but presence, grounded energy, leadership of emotion. She may not even know this contradiction lives inside her. You see, her words were never the map. You tried to become what she said she wanted, but what she felt was not what she heard. She felt neediness, dependence, a man who reflects her feelings instead of leading them. A man who becomes unstable when she pulls away. That's why it didn't work. Because the truth is, she's not attracted to the man who depends on her emotions to feel stable. She's drawn to the man who stands in fire and remains calm, who listens, yes, but doesn't let her storms shake his mountain. Schopenhauer said, love is a trick of nature, an illusion to preserve the species, but within that illusion, instincts rule. And instincts do not respond to logic or kindness, They respond to polarity, to mystery, to a man who doesn't chase because he doesn't need to. Stoicism teaches you, don't try to control what's outside you. Control your reaction. And that includes her changing emotions, her contradictions, her shifting tides. You don't lead by pleasing her. You lead by being unshaken by her. You don't become irresistible by doing what she says. You become irresistible by becoming who you are so deeply, so firmly that she feels it in her body. That's the difference between being liked and being wanted. Now speak out and comment below. I trust her energy, not just her words. She tested for strength, not kindness. You changed who you were. You softened your tone, listened without interrupting, said yes when you meant no, all to show her you cared. You thought that by giving more, she'd feel safe, loved, loyal. But instead, she grew colder, more irritated, more distant, and in the end, she left. Why does that happen? Because what women say they want and what their biology pulls them toward are not always the same. This isn't deception, it's division. A split inside her between the social self and the primal self. One shaped by culture, the other carved over millions of years of survival. Her social self said, I want a nice guy. Her primal self whispered, I want a rock, a man who does not crumble, a man whose presence says, I don't need you to approve of me to know who I am. When you gave her everything she asked for, you became predictable. You became emotionally transparent. You thought you were being honest, but to her, it felt like a man leaning on her for balance. And that's when the polarity died. Schopenhauer understood it. The woman's love is nature's strategy, not logic. She will feel drawn to the man who leads with grounded presence, not the one who folds to her emotions. She will test for strength even if she begs for softness. And here's the Stoic answer. Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events, her reactions, her distance, her words. You do not control those, but you control how deeply rooted you are in yourself. And if you're rooted in her mood, not your mission, you'll be swept away. So stop trying to win her with compliance. Stop offering your identity as a sacrifice at the altar of her comfort. Be the man whose love is steady, not desperate, whose warmth is real but never needy. Because women don't fall for the man who bends. They fall for the man who knows when not to. Now comment below. I lead with presence, not permission. Becoming what she wanted killed her desire. She told you she wanted a man who opens up. So you shared your doubts, your fears, your insecurities. She said she hated games. So you made yourself fully available, texted back instantly, rearranged plans, stayed vulnerable. And slowly she pulled away. Not because you did something wrong, but because you gave her what she asked for, not what her instincts craved. This is the paradox. Her words belong to her social self, trained by culture stories and expectations, but her attraction belongs to something deeper, her primal self. And this self doesn't speak in language. It feels energy. It seeks strength. You see, when you opened your heart too early, too fast, you shifted the emotional leadership to her. She became the one holding the frame. That imbalance suffocated polarity. She didn't reject your feelings. She rejected the weight of carrying both of yours and hers. Schopenhauer warned of this long ago. Love is a deception of nature, not a rational agreement. A woman may believe she wants comfort, but desire lives in tension, in mystery, in the quiet confidence of a man who knows who he is, even when she doesn't affirm it. So, what should you do? You lead emotionally. You feel deeply, but you don't hand over your center. You speak little, observe more. You don't spill everything just because she asks. You show warmth, not weakness, Epictetus said. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life, and emotional freedom means you're not trying to earn her affection, by proving how open you are. It means you give what is true, not what is pleasing. She doesn't want your unfiltered vulnerability in the first chapter. She wants to trust that your depth is real and not a plea for closeness. And here's the truth: when your energy is steady, not needy, when your presence is grounded, not scattered, she relaxes into you. Not because you said the right thing, but because your energy told her, I don't need your approval. I choose to share this moment. Now comment below. My presence speaks louder than my words. Watch what she responds to, not what she says. She says she wants a nice guy, someone who's emotionally available, sensitive, honest, respectful. But when that man shows up, soft, predictable, always available, she loses interest. Not because she's a liar, but because she's human. Here's what you must understand. There are two languages women speak: the language of culture, what she says, and the language of instinct, what she responds to. Words come from her social self, the one shaped by media friends and polite society. Desire comes from her primal self, evolved over millions of years to seek strength, protection, and polarity. And that primal self doesn't care if you're nice. It cares if you can lead, if you can remain grounded when everything gets emotional, if you can say no. This is why the man who doesn't chase, who holds his silence, who respects himself more than her opinions, gets her attention. Because he's not trying to be what she says she wants. He's being what she feels she needs. When you chase her approval, you kill attraction. When you try to impress her with how sweet, available, and open you are, you bury your masculine core under layers of compliance. Stoicism teaches, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Let her think you're cold. Let her say you're distant. If staying grounded costs you approval, it's a small price to pay for authenticity. You are not here to be her emotional support pet. You're not here to mold yourself into a digestible version of masculinity that fits her narrative. You're here to embody your truth, to speak with your actions, to move with direction. When you do that, she feels you, not the performance, not the nice guy script, the man, the fire, the weight. Now speak out and comment below. I am not what she says, I'm what she feels. You lost her when you tried to be what she wanted. You gave her everything: your time, your attention, your heart. You listened to her words like they were gospel. She said she wanted honesty, so you opened up. She said she valued kindness, so you bent backwards to be soft. She said she hated arrogance, so you made yourself small, humble, and agreeable. And then she left. For the man who barely replied to her texts, who never explained himself, who didn't ask for her permission to be himself. That's when it hits you. You were speaking to her words. He was speaking to her instincts. Her words live in her conscious mind, where social rules and expectations thrive. But her desire lives deeper in the unconscious, ancient part of her that evolved to seek power, certainty, direction. That part of her doesn't care about your compliance. It doesn't reward politeness. It responds to energy, presence, stillness. She doesn't want to lead. She wants to feel led, not by control, but by groundedness, by a man who doesn't flinch when she tests him, by a man who can say no without explaining yes, without begging, and leave without threatening. Stoicism teaches that you are not to be moved by flattery or insult. Marcus Aurelius said, "Receive without pride. Let go without attachment." The woman who walks away isn't your loss. You lose yourself when you become what you think she wants. You become forgettable, replaceable, not because you weren't enough, but because you stopped being you. Reclaim your presence. Stop molding, start embodying. Now speak out and comment below. I lead with presence, not performance. Listen to her silence, not just her words. She told you she wanted someone sensitive, so you shared your fears, your dreams, your doubts. She said she needed a good listener, so you sat with her pain and offered nothing but empathy. She told you, "I just want a man who really sees me." So you did, completely. But now she's cold, distant, irritated by the same softness she once praised. Your messages go unread, your effort goes unnoticed, and you're left wondering what changed. Nothing changed. You just missed what was there all along. She speaks in two languages, one of culture, one of instinct, one she thinks she wants, the other she feels she needs. You listened to her words, but her body, her timing, her tension told you the truth. Schopenhauer wasn't wrong when he said that love in women is nature's trick, not a conscious contract. It's not calculated, it's animal. She's not trying to deceive you, she's deceiving herself. What she says is shaped by her environment. Media friends' stories of the perfect guy, but desire, it's primitive, unpredictable. It doesn't respond to validation, it responds to polarity, power, sovereignty. She will say she wants a man who opens up but tests you when you do. She will say she wants peace but push you to see if you can stay grounded. She will say she wants connection but pull away when your energy gets too entangled. You tried to be her dream. You became her mirror. But what she really longed for was a mountain. Still, unmoved, holding his own gravity. A Stoic man listens not just to words, but to truth, Epictetus said. It's not events that disturb us, but our judgment of them. Stop judging her, start seeing her, without fear, without fantasy, because the truth is, she was never confused. You were just afraid to believe what her silence was already screaming. Now comment below, I see what is not what I hope for. Trying to be what she wants kills desire. She says she wants a man who's gentle, so you soften. She says she wants you to be emotionally open, so you spill your fears on the table. She says she wants support, so you cancel your plans, sacrifice your boundaries, and orbit her moods. And what happens? She pulls away. The more you give, the less she feels. The safer you become, the more invisible you are, and you're left in quiet confusion. Wasn't I doing everything she asked? Here's the hard truth. Her words speak to her social self, but her desire belongs to her primal self. Her social self wants comfort, predictability, emotional closeness, but her primal self is ancient. It craves polarity, strength, distance that feels earned. She needs to feel the heat of your core, not the warmth of your compliance. You became so available she had nothing left to chase. You showed her everything so she stopped wondering. You made her your mission and she stopped seeing you as a man on his. What was once admiration became obligation. What was once attraction became tolerance. Not because you're weak, but because you abandoned your fire to warm hers. Schopenhauer warned, nature doesn't care for romance, it only cares for survival. And in the deepest layer of her being, she's wired to seek the man who cannot be moved by approval. Not the man who submits, the man who leads. Not the one who confesses everything, but the one who stands silent when tested. The Stoics knew this. Marcus Aurelius said, "Look things in the face and know them for what they are." So look at this. She didn't betray you. You betrayed yourself first. When you live only to meet her expectations, you lose the polarity that pulled her in. Polarity is not about domination, it's about difference. Magnetic, sacred difference. The moment you dissolve it by becoming her echo, you vanish. So what's the way out? Reclaim your fire. Stop reacting. Set boundaries. Live by mission. Speak less. Lead more. Be kind, but never compliant. When your presence commands the room, when your silence says more than your pleading ever could, that's when she'll feel the gravity again. That's when the polarity returns. Now speak out and comment below. I won't trade my fire for her comfort. Her tests seek your center, not your submission. She argues over nothing. She questions your decisions. She pushes you emotionally, sometimes cold, sometimes irrational. And you wonder, Why is she acting like this when I've done everything right? Because deep down, she isn't looking for perfect behavior. She's testing your presence, not to destroy it, but to feel safe inside it. This is the paradox. Her words might say she wants peace, comfort, and harmony, but her instincts crave edge, direction, containment. She wants to feel your unshakable core. She wants to press against your wall and know it won't fall. Not because you're stubborn, but because you're anchored. When you respond to her emotional waves with begging, pleasing, or explaining, you don't ease her tension, you amplify it. She senses weakness, not because you are weak, but because you've allowed her to lead the emotional charge. And deep in her primal coding, that's terrifying. Schopenhauer would say, nature hides its motives behind love. What appears as emotional chaos is nature's test of your strength. Not physical strength, emotional sovereignty. If she can shake you, rattle you, manipulate you with tears or tantrums, then the trust begins to erode. She may not say it, she may not even be aware of it, but trust fades in the presence of emotional submission. Now listen to Epictetus. No one can harm you unless you allow it. So why are you handing her that power? Why are you trying to fix her storm instead of becoming the stillness in the center of it? A woman doesn't want to be your guide. She wants to feel guided, not controlled, guided, not dominated, contained. When she tests you, it's not about what you say, it's about what you emanate. Stillness, strength, integrity. You pass the test not by winning arguments, but by showing her. You can remain unmoved, even when everything else is trembling. That is what awakens her primal respect. That is what reignites her deepest desire. Now comment below. I lead with presence, not with permission. She wants your core, not your comfort. She says she wants you to be open, so you open. She says she wants honesty, so you spill your fears, your doubts, your insecurities. And then something shifts. She pulls away. She grows cold, distant. You're left confused. Wasn't I doing everything right? Here's the truth. What she says she wants and what she's wired to be drawn to are not always the same. This is not deception, it's biology, her social self, the one shaped by culture media. Polite conversations asks for gentleness. Emotional availability, soft vulnerability. But her primal self, the ancient coding running beneath her consciousness, craves something different. Groundedness, silence, unshakable certainty. You thought that opening up every wound would bring you closer. Instead, she felt your center collapse. That's not your fault. It's the cost of misunderstanding the dance between masculine presence and feminine energy. When you make her emotions your compass, letting her approval or disapproval dictate your sense of worth, you stop leading. And in that moment, you become a reflection, not a foundation. Schopenhauer wrote that nature uses love as a disguise for deeper instincts. She doesn't want to hear about every storm inside you. She wants to know if you can hold that storm without losing your ground. That's emotional leadership. That's what her instincts respond to. Not words, not declarations of love, but the unspoken message. I am not moved by chaos. I contain it. Now remember the words of Marcus Aurelius. Be like the rock that the waves keep crashing over. It stands unmoved. So when she tests you, when she throws confusion, when she says one thing but seems drawn to another, do not chase, do not plead, do not explain. Center yourself. Let her feel your gravity, not your guilt. Let her witness your fire, not your fear. Because a woman doesn't fall for the man who always agrees. She falls for the one who stands firm in who he is. Now speak out and comment below. I lead from the center. I never beg for connection. So now you know. She doesn't need more comfort, she craves your core. Not your softness, but your strength in silence. Not your explanations, but your unshakable energy. You were never meant to be her echo. You were meant to be her anchor. So walk your path with fire in your chest and peace in your spine. Until next time, brother, stay grounded, stay sovereign, and never ever beg for love.